Hey, what's up guys? Ben Clark here for Adapt to Perform and welcome to day 10 of your 30-day wheelchair fitness challenge. In today's video it is a rest day and we are actually talking about rest. So I hope you enjoy the video and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you probably understand that rest is important, but why is it important and how do I rest properly and all that? Well, basically in this video, I am going to be explaining it in two different ways. I want to talk to you about sleep, getting the right amount of sleep, getting quality sleep, and I also want to talk to you about rest in between workout sessions. So making sure that we're getting properly recovered so we can do the exercise properly again. So let's start off with our actual sleeping. Now, if you look online, there's so many videos, so many things saying you need this amount of sleep, you need this amount of sleep. This is how you do it properly. However, the problem is with it, it's so unique to so many different people. You can have people that can survive on 4 hours sleep a night and some people that need 8, 9, 10 hours a night. And it really depends on you and what you're doing, your lifestyle, your age, your gender. There's so many variations that go into it that you need to think about. But instead of thinking about it, the thing is you kind of know already how much sleep you need. You know that if you get this amount of hours, you'll be fine for the day. If you get less, then you'll be rubbish. If you get too much, then you might be a bit more groggy and lazy in that day. So I would say just kind of ignore the amount of hours. You want to focus on good quality sleep. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about today and give you a few little hints and, along the way. I will go probably into some of the things that I'm talking about in a lot more detail in future videos once the 30 days is up. I want to give you a rough overview so that these 30 days are as quality as they can be. So let's talk about preparation for bed, because it's not just about the sleeping, it's about the lead up to the sleep. So I do a few things every night to make sure that I am going to be I'm going to be sleeping for as long as possible. So I'm in that deep REM sleep for as much as possible, because that's when our bodies actually recover properly. And that's where we grow and we become stronger because of the exercise we've been doing. The longer we're in the sleep for, or the good amount of sleep, then it means that we're going to recover properly and become stronger and better overall. So what I want to say is basically my routine. So about an hour before I go to bed is sort of when I start thinking about what I'm doing. Don't worry, this isn't an hour-long routine before I go to bed. It's just that I stop drinking about an hour before I go to bed. This just means that I'm not getting a disturbed sleep and I'm not getting up in the night to go for a wee about 4 in the morning, because if I had a drink, it takes about 4 or 5 hours to go through. If I'm going to bed at about 11, then I'm going to be waking up at 4 in the morning, and that's not what I want to be doing at 4 in the morning. I want to be sleeping. So I make sure that I don't drink that hour before, and it means that before I go to bed, I can empty my bladder and that I can probably get about 6 hours in. And I'm somebody who needs about 6-7 hours. I can't quite stretch to 7 hours. I haven't figured out how to do that yet without being massively dehydrated, which I don't want to be. Making sure that I'm getting the timings right on my drinks. And this is something that you experiment with. If you're someone who, like myself, and you probably are if you're disabled watching this, then you've got problems with your bladder and your bowels, and it means that you already know your timings on when you drink and when you'll wee or when you need to go for number 2. So it's just experiment with that and make sure that you're getting maximum amount of sleep through the night. The other thing that I make sure that I'm doing is my screen time before I go to bed. So about the last half an hour, I make sure that I'm turning off my phone and I'm not using that for the last half an hour before I go to bed. The other thing I do as well, I've got a app on the phone. There's a setting within the menus that means that once it gets past sundown, it means that the screen actually turns off its blue lights and it's got that sort of red hue to it. Because the blue light actually is a way to keep you awake. It's this thing you see in the mornings, and that's what wakes you up in the morning. So you don't want to be woken up just before you go into bed. So having those sort of settings is really great. Now, the other thing I do often, not all the time, because, I am a human, I do have my days where I'm being lazy, is I try to do a bit of a stretch before I go to bed, because spasms can be a thing that can wake me up and can be a bit annoying. So I make sure I do a little stretch routine. I've done a couple of videos on those in the past, and this is a really great way to make sure that my legs are as floppy as they can be for when I'm sleeping. And then the other thing I do is make sure that my sleeping position is right. So if I lie on my side, then I tend to have a lot more spasms, and it ends up that I'm start doing jiu-jitsu in bed, and that's not what I want to be doing. So most of the time I sleep on my back and in a fairly comfortable position. That means that my spasms are minimized as possible. I sometimes put some pillows under my knees if I'm having a particularly bad day, so they're not in a stretch position. So that means that they're not going to spasm because they're under sort of tension. So they make sure they're nice and relaxed. Again, I'll do some more videos about that in the future. Just working on sort of giving you the right ideas to help you move forwards to make sure these 30 days are as good as possible. That's the idea with this video. So that's sort of my thing with my sleeping. Oh, one more thing actually is the alarm clock that we recently got. So it's not a traditional alarm clock. It's a sunrise sunset clock. So what it does is you can turn it on just before you go to bed, and it'll be at like daytime sort of lightness. And then what you do, you click a button, and then over the next 30 minutes, it'll reduce down gradually and get to like a sunset does. It goes more orange, then red, and then it goes to dark. And that way you're sort of a natural sort of rhythm, like the way nature intends it, essentially. You know, we didn't used to have roofs over our head and be blocked in, and we would actually see the sunrise and sunset. So having that in place means that we can actually have a bit more of a natural cycle. Also on the alarm clock, if you set an alarm, say for 9 o'clock, at 8:30, the sun will start to rise on the clock, and so it'll get brighter and brighter, and it means that you wake up a lot more naturally and you feel really good in the morning. And it's really, really good for seasonal something disorder, the SAD is what people call it, where you feel sort of down in those sort of winter months. It really does help with those things, especially living in a country like England where we have very long days in the summer, very long nights in the winter, and it means that we can sort of make a bit more of a standardized hours that we're sleeping, because we don't normally change our hours of sleep during the summer and winter, but the nights are different, and it really does affect our mood. So just having something in place there. Again, I'll put a thing on the screen and I'll put a link down below so you can check out those sort of lights. Okay, so moving on to our rest in terms of our exercise. Now, with exercise and fitness and all that, there are 3 things that are really, really important, and quite often people either do only 1 or 2 of them, and they nearly always skip out number 3. So the 3 things are training, and then we've got nutrition, and then we've got rest. Now, a lot of the people, when they start out, they just assume you have to work really, really hard all the time, and that's how you get fit. But then they realize that, hey, maybe I need to start eating right to make sure that I've got the right fuel in me, so I'm getting recovered and making sure that I can actually do the exercise. Then they start doing the nutrition, and then they think, that's it, I'm doing what I need to do. But they nearly always forget out the rest part of it. And it's so important that I would say it's as important as the other 3. It's 33% either way for every single thing. And the reason for this is because when we rest is when we actually grow. So say you wanted to put on some muscle or lose some weight, whatever it may be, it's the time once you stopped exercising is actually the time where the change happens. While we're exercising, our body doesn't have the ability to change as such, because it's so focused on making sure that you're doing the exercise right. But once you stop, you're like, okay, I need to make sure that when I do that next time, that the body's going to be more ready for it. So that means that when we rest, we need to get good quality rest, and we need the right amount of rest afterwards. So the sleep obviously helps with that. With the REM cycles being in there for longer, having a good quality sleep means that that's when we're properly, like, our recovery is like in overtime, because our body doesn't have to do anything else apart from breathe and stay alive. So it's like, okay, I've got time to do that stuff that I need to do to make sure that we're okay for later. So with the recovery, we need to make sure that we're having enough days after a session that we're recovering. Now, a good rule to follow by is about 48 hours once we've stopped exercising. Now, this means you can sort of set up your week in a couple of different ways. If you're doing a full body routine, and that's the thing you like to do, that takes maybe an hour to 2 hours to do, if you've got the time to go and do that, then you can do it on a Monday, and then you can rest 2 days and then do it on the Thursday. And you can just keep repeating that time after time, and then just do a couple of sessions a week. However, a lot of people don't have 1 to 2 hours, so they try to go to the gym between half an hour and an hour generally. And in those, that's where we can split up a bit more and we can change it into body parts. So although we are working out, what we can do is we can have it so that the muscles, we can split it into muscle groups. So say on a Monday, we can work out our chest and our triceps and maybe some of our shoulder muscles as well. And that means into a push workout, which like we've been doing on the day ones of each week. So with these, it means that we can have a couple of days to recover. Now, to begin with, I'm giving you a full week to recover because it's sort of a beginner sort of program. So I didn't want to push you too hard to begin with. But eventually, as we go through, as you get more advanced, you can start adding in more in the week. But what it means is that we can, again, I'll get to the point eventually. We can split it up and we can have a day of using our chest muscles. And then the day 2, we can use those back muscles and that. And what that means is that we can split up our week a little bit more. It means that on the day 1 and the day 4, we can do the push exercises. On the day 2 and the day 5, we can do the pull exercises. And then on the days in between those, we can do stuff like, if you've got core muscles, you can work on those a bit more. And if you want to do some cardio work, you can put those in. And it means that we're getting more exercises in within the week, but we are still getting a sufficient amount of rest. And the rest is really, really important. I'll talk a bit more about programming and that again in another video. I don't want to go too much into it, but that's sort of a basic overview. I've rambled a bit there as always, but hopefully you sort of see why I've structured the program the way I have, giving you more rest at the moment just because a lot of you are beginners in this. A lot of you haven't stuck to a program before, so just make sure you give you a full week. That means you're fully recovered and you can do it again. So yeah, the reason why I wanted to give you that full week is because I want to make sure that you are recovered and you can have a lot more enjoyment out of it, because the whole idea of this program was to give you maximum enjoyment as well as good weight loss and all that sort of stuff and get you on the right track. It's more about teaching you how to program a week, when you should be doing it, and in this video I want to talk about when you should be putting rest in and how much rest you do, because I don't want you to be that person that goes to the gym on January the 1st and you work every day until January the 10th or 11th, and then you're like, I can't do anymore, I give up, this isn't for me, I feel rubbish with my life. I want you to make sure that we're doing this long term. This is a change for life, guys. This isn't just 30 days of fitness. This is the first 30 days of the rest of your life in terms of your fitness stuff. So yeah, I rambled on a bit there. I went into a little bit of programming, but hopefully you enjoyed the video anyway. Thank you very much, guys. That is day 10 in the books. If you liked this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. I'll try not to ramble too much again in the future. I like to go off on topic. But if you have any questions about what I've talked about, make sure you put it in the comments down below. I'm sure you have many questions about what I was on about. There we go. And as ever, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If this is the first video you're watching and you want to do the 30-day program, it's there, it's ready for you. You can start at any single time you want to. Just start on day 1 and go from there. Oh, well, make sure you watch day 0 because I'll tell you about what equipment you need to. But for now, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.